Hello, and welcome to my van. So this van was a bit of a surprise for us. Initially, I've been wanting to do this for probably 15 or 20 years with the bus, but we needed some winter tires. This van had brand new winter tires, so I was going to buy it, call the Kidney Foundation, and send it to the junkyard. When I pulled the tires off, that's when I discovered it was a bit of a unicorn. It's a supercharged Toyota Previa, which, I don't know, I think a supercharged Toyota Previa is about as fast as a normal car because Toyotas are generally pretty gutless. But when we found that, we decided, you know what, this is a perfect time to camperize it. Tried to spend as little as possible, and I think all in, we're at about $3,000, maybe $3,500 tops. We'll give you a tour now. So as you can see, the table is about the right height to clear your knees. I wanted to make sure that we could sit at the table and be able to move our feet around and not be tied down. What that has done is it's left us a little crowded on top. But in the end, this can easily seat 4 people comfortably to eat dinner or play card games or do whatever we need to do when it comes to the end of the day. And then this neatly drops down into a bed and extends out to be about a queen size bed, maybe a hair short. So from the back, you can see how the dinette works. The table drops down to fit exactly in between so that it's a completely level surface all the way across. I have 2 table pockets put in the floor so that the table can sit comfortably and the floor is flat and unobstructed. Here's where you see the furnace, which is a Volkswagen furnace. You'll find them in the old school Volkswagen Beetles that were sold in Canada and other northern countries. Puts out 8,000 BTU, and I still have to finish some of the plumbing up there. And the fuel tank is going to go on the back bumper once I get the back bumper built. But until then, I run the hoses through here. One of these hoses is a vent, so it can vent outside. That way there's no excessive fumes inside the vehicle. Further to the back, you can see my inverter, and I have it wired to the front so I can plug into it easily. It's a 1200 watt RMS inverter, built strong enough to be able to run our Vitamix for 5 to 10 minutes. And as I mentioned before, there is the 110 volt outlet from my inverter. Here you can see my 100 amp hour RV battery, a bunch of odds and ends that I haven't yet finished hooking up, and you can just barely see the inverter peeking through that crack there, wire leading up to here. So now you can see the dinette has been converted into the bed. Like I said, it's a queen sized bed. If you extend it up to the fridge, that cabinet there can turn 90 degrees and make room for a full bed to fit. But I find with 2 adults, where it is leaves more than enough room for the feet here, head at that end, and an almost queen is more than comfortable. If I was to do this again, I would probably run the cabinet all the way down that side, about a foot out, because a queen size bed is overkill for 2 people. For 3 people, it would be cozy. 4 people, it would probably be too tight. If you look underneath, you can see the aluminum pieces that are here. They allow this to be turned into a platform that folds out underneath and covers this section here so that the bed comes right up to the fridge. And that piece of foam is what covers this section. Here is the sink. I have a tap set with a pump running. These are called Brown's pans. You may remember them from your favorite neighborhood buffet. I just cut holes in the bottom of them, placed a drain plug that I got from a RV supply store. We've also built drawers that hold all of our odds and ends, everything from our propane bottle to a cast iron pan that's underneath everything, pots, pans, hot gloves. And I need to add a few more drawers here, but here the lighting will adjust. You'll see our water pump and the water hose that then leads to these 2 water jugs, one for gray, one for fresh. It's a great system to have 2 tanks the same size, because then you know you're never going to overflow your gray water if you empty it at the same time you fill your fresh water. And back here is where I've tucked away my Reflectix window coverings. Saves a lot of energy when you are parked at -30 in the mountains, trying to stay toasty warm under just a simple fleece blanket. This cabinet by the door I have outfitted with a Mobicool 12-volt fridge. Actually does very well. Over here is where I've tucked my 2-burner stove that sits up on top of that cabinet there. I have a cutting board that will slide out here. As you can see, there's another one right there, and that's where I set the stove across that end of that table. One of the other things that is not yet complete is the top edge where the wood meets the window. What I did was I put saran wrap into the gap and filled it with spray foam, and then cut that spray foam down. And that spray foam makes it so that it's much easier to form up to the glass. I just haven't had the time yet to do it. The back, I will eventually be putting a panel on the back door, and you can see where I tried to paint some of the wood, but I don't like the effect, so that'll be getting sanded off and finished another way. The other thing that I needed was an awning. Rather than buy one, I built one. This is made out of a 7-foot by 9-foot white tarp I got for about $6 at Princess Auto, and a whole bunch of EMT electrical conduit. 3/4 inch with just a bunch of hardware and bungees. It rolls out, it has legs on the far side so it stands up, and it can be pegged into the ground so that even in strong winds it won't go anywhere. To mount it, I got 2 carriage bolts that fit neatly in the under bracket of the Yakima racks, and it hangs from 2 points. The front of the van is just like any other Previa, although this one was used as a work vehicle, so the front dash is pretty scratched and dented. I'm probably eventually going to give it a coat of paint, but that's lower on my list. I've put the seats from a 93 in here because the 96 seats that came with it were in really rough shape. These ones aren't much better, but they were better than the ones I had. I eventually plan to find some leather heated electric seats that I will replace these with if this ends up sticking around long term.